Cornerstone Retirement Partners presents Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner Ron Corser and Nolan Gosley. Cornerstone Retirement Partners are planning today for the potential of tomorrow.
And welcome into the program. This is Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Resource for a common sense approach to planning for your financial, investment, retirement, and healthcare future. Today on the program, we have with us Nancy Corser, who does handle the healthcare side of planning there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. And if you've got questions or concerns about any of the material covered in today's program, or for your own specific planning efforts, pick up the phone and give Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call. 616-301-2581. That is 616-301-2581. And Nancy, an exciting time in your life and then around the office there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. It is open enrollment season.
It sure is. It's about 5 to 6 weeks away, and we are underway with all of our preparation. And for anyone that helps with Medicare, such as myself, as well as my team, we do have to be certified. So we've pretty much spent the last month working with the different insurance companies to make sure that we understand the product changes and that we pass all the tests. So that's step number one for us. And then step number two is we're getting ready to reach out to all of our existing clients, letting them know that it's time to potentially revisit and review, most importantly, the changes that are upcoming for the year. So it is a time-consuming, fun time of the year, very, very busy. And then I also get extra help this time of the year, Peter. Can't do it alone. Have a team of people, as we've talked about before, that are now able to help me during this very, very busy time of the year. So getting ready by all means.
You mentioned changes. Is the changes or are the changes that occur with the different plans the reason why, even if I've already enrolled in Medicare, I really need to review all of my options and evaluate my plan?
You really do. We strongly recommend that a person not leave their plan in autopilot. And all the insurance companies are required to send to the Medicare eligible, because we're talking about people that are strictly on the Medicare side of things, what's called an annual notice of change. So this document must be in their hands prior to October 1st. The official season for what's called the annual election period or the annual enrollment period starts October 15th. So by getting this key information in their hands on the 1st of October at the latest, it gives them opportunities to see what changes are being planned. So that could be anything from their premium is going up. Once in a while, it goes down. It will also talk about any type of deductibles that have changed, any copays, any added services, new maximum out of pocket, so on and so forth. This document is really critical because it does summarize the changes that the person can anticipate for the upcoming year.
And we've had programs previously, Nancy, where we've talked about those terms, defined many of those terms. And for those who may not yet be enrolled in Medicare, important to understand all of those terms, the potential costs we could incur. But for those who are already enrolled in Medicare, probably regular parts of the healthcare language that they speak and are already understanding and accustomed to. Today's program really going to dive into what we need to know and what options we have if we are already enrolled in Medicare, because it is important to revisit our plan, our coverage each and every year.
Correct. So this is really about people that have a minimum, what's called original Medicare, which is Part A, and that's the hospitalization, and Part B, and those are all the medical services. So many people, as a result of meeting with us, for example, have elected to add to their plan, A and B, because it has a lot of out-of-pocket expense. So not only is Medicare not free, it also has deductibles, copays, and coinsurance. So there are plans that are designed to fill in either all of the gaps per se or some of the gaps. So when we meet with people, they either decide to generally go with what's called a Medicare Advantage plan, which is also known as Part C. So now we've said A and B, and once in a great while, you will hear it referred to as Part C. And the Part C equals an Advantage plan. And along with the Advantage plan, most of them do include Part D, which is the government's drug prescription program. So that is one approach to looking at their healthcare coverage. The other approach is for somebody to take the original Medicare A and B, and they add a separate plan altogether that's referred to as a Medicare supplement or a Medigap. It has a letter typically. Generally, it's a letter F as in Frank, or G as in go, or N as in Nancy, but it has a letter and it is standardized. And those folks had to look at adding a prescription drug plan because it is no longer included in the Medigap plan. So the way I generally will explain to people, especially when I first meet them, is if they're on Medicare, tell me, do you use one card? And if they tell me they do for all of their health needs or their prescriptions or the gym membership and so on and so forth, that generally is a good indication that they have Part C, which is the Advantage plan. But if they tell me they use 3 cards and they have a Medicare red, white, and blue card, and then they have a prescription drug plan, and then they have a Medigap card or from a Medicare supplement carrier, these are all private insurance companies, they are telling me that they have a standalone drug plan. So today's conversation is really encouraging people that have Part C and Part D to make sure that you don't leave it in autopilot, that you just don't assume that, okay, it worked out fine this year, it'll work out fine next year. That's the purpose and point of really reminding people to review that annual notice of change. So just a good reminder, make sure that you review the materials that are coming your way from your carrier today.
Nancy, can you think of any examples offhand where what had worked for us last year maybe is not setting us up to work well and effectively next year? Like, what's an example of some of the changes that you have seen occur or that we are seeing occur?
So in the past, what I have seen are some plans, prescription drug, have had their premiums double and changed the name of the plan. So here they thought it was X premium and okay, maybe it went up a little bit. Instead, it turned out the premium doubled and they changed the name. So that would really only be caught with that annual notice of change and paying attention to that.
Wow.
So when that happens, we do reach out to those people and we make sure that you probably don't need a plan that's doubled in price. So let's make sure that we talk. Another example might be, and again, we saw this last year, the Part D plans have preferred pharmacies. And every year they negotiate with the individual plan, the pharmacies that will participate as preferred or standard or not at all. So we did have a couple of pharmacies that changed from what was preferred with the better pricing, and they went to standard in the upcoming year. So we had a few calls on that saying, oh, I didn't realize I needed to change the pharmacy to get the better price.
And here's the thing. This is one example where we can sort of foretell the future. That change notice lays out what those expected changes are going to be next year. And this is our one opportunity to make changes proactively with the knowledge of what will be happening next year. So again, why it's important that people take a look during this annual election open enrollment.
Exactly. And there are certainly other reasons for why people should and could look at their plans. When I think of a Medicare Advantage plan, they do change every year. I mean, they add some new things. The copays might change. The maximum out of pocket might change. So those are kind of basic things, but once in a while, somebody might run into a situation where it wasn't a good experience for them with that carrier. And there are enough other carriers out there, as long as their doctors participate with the Medicare Advantage plans, that now is the time of the year to make a change. In terms of the Part D, often people will have gone to the doctor and the doctor says you need a new script. And when we did the analysis for last year, it might have been based on a certain number and a certain type. And now we have a new prescription that we need to evaluate, or they become a diabetic, or now they have COPD or some medical condition which requires a different approach in terms of their medication. So that is another good reason not to leave the Part D, the standalone prescription drug plan, in autopilot. Sometimes the Part D also will change the tier that your medication may be on. I've run into that, where a person didn't revisit it. They just assumed that, okay, I paid $2 for this particular medication at this pharmacy and it was tier 1. And lo and behold, the next year it went up to $10. So those are the kind of things that can be caught with either the annual notice of change, and we always stress that with our clients, but then we're always here to help as well. I mean, we would like to see everybody do a little bit of research and due diligence on their own, but certainly we are here to guide them when they have questions or they're not sure how to look at something in particular. That's where we come in and really get involved in helping them.
And once again, your resource, ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Courser and the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners. You can pick up the phone to be in touch if you've got questions, if you would like to review your current plan, change notices, what coverage you can expect to have moving into and through next year. You got to have an understanding of those costs and, of course, the coverage that those costs provide you in order to get a good grip on your healthcare coverage. Give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Nancy, we know that this coverage is not free. The premiums for Part B, the base premium amount of about $171 a month, although you shared with me previously that almost half of those eligible have gone with a Medicare Advantage plan, which replaces Parts A and B and can give additional benefits. And then there are those other combinations with the Medigap plans that you just shared a little bit about that many others have gone with as well.
Correct. So the Medicare Advantage plan is going to be the type of approach where you pay virtually nothing in a premium, although there are plans that have premiums. But this year, more than ever, we are going to continue to see zero premium plans. And the approach with the Medicare Advantage plan is to really pay as you go. It's a lot like a group plan. You continue to pay your Part B. That's the government's money, whether you have it deducted from Social Security or you receive a quarterly bill. But this is insurance. You've decided coverage to put above and beyond that. So the Medicare Advantage plan will have copays. Doesn't necessarily mean they're a lot. Again, that's why you want to look at your plan. And some people want to compare because, again, there are many carriers that are out there. But the key to that with the Advantage plan to stress is that you want to make sure that your doctor is in the network. The other real selling point in feature of the Medicare Advantage plan for many people is that it does have additional value-added services. So we've got value-added services such as a gym membership. Most of them include silver sneakers. We've got the ability to do what we call an over-the-counter purchase. We can call it in. We can go to the pharmacy. We have a catalog. We can order Band-Aids and vitamins and aspirin, and it's generally done on a quarterly basis. We have transportation benefits for people that no longer drive. And again, this is related to the Medicare Advantage plan. So the government has said, this is what we offer for A and B. And the Advantage plan company has said, we can offer above and beyond. You still may or may not have a premium, but we're going to be able to give you other services. There are also included are the dental, vision, and hearing. These tend to be preventative in nature, because Medicare does pay for anything medically necessary as it relates to dental, vision, and hearing. But when it comes to just growing old and our teeth are wearing out and we need a filling or a root canal, these Advantage Plan companies will offer the embedded dental, vision, and hearing, and even for a fee above and beyond that, more dental and vision, and sometimes hearing. So there are services that as we get older are very attractive to people, and they're okay paying as they go, and they understand their plan, and that the worst possible outcome is that they have a catastrophic type of health event where they are protected with what's called the maximum out of pocket for the plan. So every Advantage Plan must have that, and you should know what that is. And it's also very rare that people ever hit that threshold, a very small percentage of people. So it's something that, there's always risk, but there's always reward too, because if you stay pretty healthy and you have a premium that's low or even as low as zero, you might have a pretty cost-effective year. So just understanding how your plan works.
Well, Nancy knows her stuff. She is our resource here on the program and yours, ladies and gentlemen, there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, serving Grand Rapids area savers and investors. Nancy, in particular, handles the healthcare and has been doing so for more than 17 years, helping people who are turning 65, retiring, losing group health insurance coverage, transitioning into Medicare. She's an independent advisor representing multiple insurance companies and over 20 plans, not a celebrity spokesperson. She's actually in the field and understands these plans, the ins and outs of the coverage, and can help you review them. So if you've got questions, if you would like to review your plan options, pick up the phone and give Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. You can also go online, nancycourser.com. nancycourser.com is the site specifically for the healthcare coverage and options and the access to the healthcare professionals there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. Again, 616-301-2581, the phone number to call, the easiest way to get the conversation started. Now, Nancy, you've got a few, we call them disclaimers that we have to cover. I actually think these are benefits.
Okay.
We will not be talking about any specific product or carrier, keeping it unbiased, not talking about one particular product. You are not employed by Medicare or Medicaid. You are a licensed independent agent. You have a team of other professionals, again, licensed and Medicare certified, who help with plan reviews. And this is your busiest time of year, so it's good for folks to get a jump start on that conversation.
Absolutely. So I have built my team over the last probably 5 or 6 years. I got to the point where I could no longer manage it and really do a good job for my clients. And I will say, Peter, I still love what I do. After 17 years, I've grown. I've met some wonderful people. I've been able to help people and know that I have made a difference with them. So it has been time over the last 5 or 6 years to add to my team. And we do have 2 people kind of behind the scenes. And then we also have 2 people who are licensed as well that will be helping the client base that we have here at Cornerstone Retirement Partners in going through each and every plan as they have been requested. We also have seminars and webinars. They are posted on our website. So you're more than welcome to participate in that as well. But
and some fantastic radio shows and podcasts.
Oh, that's absolutely right. We've got to get some more of those out there. In fact, a few of my friends already heard me 2 weeks ago, and they're like, oh, that's right. We need to give you a call, because the calendar is already starting to fill up. We can start to talk to people about the plans as soon as October 1st. We cannot physically make a change in terms of paperwork until the 15th, but the calendar is already starting to fill up. The other thing is, for anybody that's savvy with the computer, on October 1st, if you go out to medicare.gov, you will be able to see all the brand new plans. They will also show you the 2022 plans. So you have an option of either 2023 or 2022. Now, remember, the 2023 plans do not come into play until January 1st, but you're going to be able to get a little bit of a heads up on, okay, this is what's happening with my plan. The other thing I would mention about reviewing plans that some people don't realize is when you've signed up for a Medicare Advantage plan, again, that is the Part C, is that the carrier will only send you information on your existing plan. Many of the carriers might have 6, 7, 8 different plans now to pick from. So by talking with us, by going to Medicare.gov, by also looking at the book that you will be receiving, because everybody in Medicare receives the Medicare and You book. It's updated every October. You're going to be able to see that you don't just have one plan with one carrier, but that you have multiple plans. So again, I really encourage people to look at a lot of the zero premium plans. They're going to be there again this next year. If a person pays a premium, and my mom is a good example of that, it's because there was something about the copay and the service that was important to her. In her particular case, the more you pay in a premium, the lower your copay might be for the hospital, for example. So by looking at your particular needs, if you're pretty healthy, you might go one route. If you've got some more medical needs or maybe need a surgery, you might go another route. And that's the beauty of having multiple plans. But again, unless you do a little research or you call us, you might just think the one you have is good enough. And you might be surprised that there could have been something out there that was even a little better.
Again, to be in touch, to go through and review your current plan and the options that are available, give Nancy Corser a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. So talking about all of these costs and expenses, and we are all aware that healthcare is expensive, but there is one cost we do need to talk about, which is for your service, Nancy, no charge for that. And you can meet in your office, on Zoom, or even just a phone call, but no cost out of pocket to the individual that you are helping and assisting to get a better understanding of their choices and options, and of course, cost, protection, and coverage.
Correct. So there has never been any charge that a licensed health agent can pass on to a client or customer. Having said that, I do get paid for the services that are rendered, and the government has put together a schedule of what every agent will receive in the 48 United States. In Hawaii and Alaska, they're a little different. But in servicing the 48 states here, there is a flat rate that every agent is paid for enrolling somebody brand new in Medicare, as well as the ongoing support and servicing of that person. So the commission paid to an agent is a result of the person saying, I would like you to help me, helping them fill out the paperwork, offering them the annual reviews if they would like them. And the agent then is paid on an ongoing basis for as long as that person would like them to be their agent. So in many carrier cases, it is a lifetime commission for the agent. But I'll also say, Peter, that if I can't help the person, because let's say they're in a plan and it's just fine, there's no reason for them to make a change, I'm okay with that, because I want to make sure that they have the best and right plan for them. And I'm hoping that they will take a business card and that they will share it with a family member or a friend and say, Nancy helped me. Mm-hmm. She told me I didn't need to make a move. That was just what I needed to know. I have peace of mind, but give her a call if you have any other questions. So that's generally how we kind of operate. We always want to do the right thing and the best thing for our clients.
And again, that does not come out of your client's pocket. That is your compensation, that is set. It's standard. It's across the entire continental US, it sounds like, is standardized, but not a check that somebody has to write, not cash they have to pull out of their wallet or bank account. That is going to be part of the service that you provide to them. No cost, no obligation, just reviewing, evaluating the options and an education on them.
That is correct. And certainly we want to work with people that are open to having an agent help them. And again, it goes back to the annual notice of change. We're always going to ask you, did you take a look at it? Because there is a little bit of homework on the front end. And it also helps us in terms of the time that we have together. If they've looked at it and they said, I have questions, or they've looked at it and said, my doctor doesn't participate anymore, I need something new. That gives us kind of the basis for jumping off, because we really do try to be prepared for the appointment in advance. We have a lot of people that come and see us, Peter, during this 10-week period of time. And I work every day but Sunday. And so to maximize our time, both parties have to be prepared to the degree that they can.
Well, again, if you would like to have that conversation, education on your plan, your options, what changes may be coming next year, pick up the phone, give Nancy Corser a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Nancy, at first I wondered why there were such stringent deadlines. You can't talk about it before October 1st, can't make changes before October 15th. And then I sort of came to the realization of the size and scope of this program. I mean, after all, this is a government administrated program, and there are millions upon millions of people who are going through this each year, A, for the first time, and then B, every year wanting to review their plan and options. So there's a window of when that can be done and a window of when you can make any changes. That's basically the only opportunity that we have.
For the most part, a couple of comments there. It used to be it went through the end of December. And then if you were an agent, you had no Christmas. So in some ways, that was kind of nice that they cut it off there on 12/7. Now, what I would also say is that there is something called a special election period, but that would apply to somebody, for example, that is moving. So if you're new to the area or you're moving outside the state of Michigan, and you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you would be granted what's called a special election period. So I had someone contact me in the last day. He said, I moved to Arizona. That is now my residence. What do I need to do? So I will help him out of term, if you will, with what's called a special election period. So the big one tends to be move, either move in or move out. But there are also probably at least another dozen reasons for when someone could actually revisit their Medicare.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of those reasons and exceptions outside of the normal schedule after the break. And we'll be also talking about Part C. Continues to be very popular. What will change specifically next year? We'll give you a preview of what we know and some of those changes. Nancy will talk to you about those important healthcare election decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, pick up the phone, give a call if you would like that personal guide through these decisions and making sure that you've got the coverage that is most appropriate for you. Nancy Corser, your resource, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Quick break. We'll be back. Continue the discussion about Medicare enrollment period. And we are back with Nancy Corser here on Your Course to Retirement today, talking about the healthcare coverage side of things. Medicare open enrollment period is coming up. It is your opportunity to evaluate your plan, weigh your options, get a better understanding of any changes that are to come next year, and make sure that you've got the best plan for your needs and your specific situations. And of course, Nancy Courser, an independent agent, can help you through those complex decisions. Make sure that you are fully informed and educated and you understand the healthcare expense protections that you'll have in place for yourself moving forward. If you've got questions or concerns, you would like to set up a complimentary time to discuss, pick up the phone, give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Nancy, before the break, we were talking about this very short window of time, only a little bit more than a month, it seems like, where we've got to jam pack all of the education in and make any decisions for our plan coverage coming up next year. You said that there are some exceptions. The number one, most common one being that you have maybe moved to a different area out of state or into another state. So certainly we wanted to double check because coverage is not necessarily the same exactly state to state. Are there any other big exceptions to this finite window where we've got the option to review and evaluate and make changes to our plan?
Sure. So let's back up just a little bit and tell you that when it comes to the periods that are assigned by Medicare and Medicaid as it pertains to somebody coming aboard with Medicare and staying in Medicare, we first actually start out with what's called the initial enrollment period. So if anyone is listening and you haven't yet turned 65, you will be entitled to an enrollment period that is a 7-month period of time. And today we won't go into it a lot, but other than knowing that, some people have said, does that mean I need to do something during the annual election period that we're talking about today? No, you have a totally separate enrollment period with which to come aboard in terms of turning
your
65.
own specific unique age 65 is going to determine that.
It's going to generate that. So you don't need to wait until your annual election period. The other enrollment period that follows the SEP or special election period or enrollment period has to do with people that are dropping their group coverage. So imagine you're not 65 anymore. You've elected not to take your Medicare, and now you're retiring. And let's say that you're 68 years old. You can come aboard Medicare. You just need to plan it in advance, and they will give you what is called a special election period. They give you about a 60-day window to work with your employer to obtain a form that indicates where you were when you did turn 65, because you must have credible group coverage. You must be working for a company that has 20 or more employees. And then you will also be applying for your Part B, because you need both parts of Medicare to be able to move forward with any type of supplemental. And there are penalties if you do not sign up for Part B when it's time. So it is referred to as a special enrollment period. We do help people with that. We try to get enough planning time in advance. We will help with the forms, and that would be a different election period for that person. Also, remember, everything with Medicare always starts the first of the month. It's not the middle of the month. It's not the end of the month. It's always the first of the month. So somebody that drops their group coverage, they need to plan on the first of the month that they need their new coverage and that their old coverage is going to end. So see, there are other examples of special election periods. Sometimes we work with people that are Medicaid eligible. This is not the big topic for today, but we do help people that are Medicare and Medicaid eligible. They're called a dual eligible. And those dual eligibles sometimes will lose their Medicaid coverage, and that would also constitute a special election period. There are also people that qualify for what's called the low income subsidy. That's a government program designed to help people with their prescription drug costs. Again, there is a special window, a special election period once a quarter that those people are granted. So I've given you kind of a few exceptions. For the most part, people that are in Medicare, they had their initial enrollment period when they came aboard, when they turned 65. Otherwise, they had a special election period because they waited and then they retired. And then once a year, they have their annual election period. And then if something out of the ordinary, like moving, happens, then they get another acronym called the SEP. So we know them all. That's what makes some of this kind of complicated, because you do have windows that you have to work with. So,
but again, this is the big one. This is
the big
most
one.
people, this really applies to everyone who has already turned 65, is enrolled, wanting to know what costs, coverage, protections are going to be in place for next year. Here is our window of time to evaluate those choices and make any changes.
Absolutely. And Peter, there are also a fair amount of folks that I run into that have done nothing other than their Part A and Part B. In fact, a lot of the TV advertising is really targeting those people. So there are other plans. We talked about the Medicare Advantage plan that a person might want to evaluate. It doesn't mean that they can't stay with Part A and B, but if they did just do Part A and B, or that's what they're thinking, they do need to add a drug plan, because otherwise there is a penalty that is a permanent penalty. So a couple of things. Like I say, if you only have Part A and B, now is the time to look at maybe adding a Part C to your plan, as well as a Part D, which would come right along with it. Some people, believe it or not, may opt altogether to drop the additional coverage and return to original Medicare. There are all different reasons for why people do what they do. And again, that's what we try to help them do. So we're going to see mostly people that want to stay with what they have. They just want to review and want to make sure it's still the right plan. Right. And then we'll see a fair amount of people that will say, I had the Medigap plan. It's becoming too expensive. I don't think I need that kind of care. Now's the time for them to look at the Medicare Advantage plan, because this is their 7 or 8 week window to make a move. They can't make a move next year. They will be committed to the same plan if they don't make a decision to evaluate. Maybe I really do want to go to Part C. I got to keep my parts and my plan separate too.
But make that a conscious decision, not just a default decision because we were unaware of our ability to have choice and option. Do nothing may be the best approach, but not if it's do nothing without information and education. And oftentimes, Nancy, as you've talked about, there are changes. And in fact, Part C continues to be very popular, but we will see some changes with certain parts of Part C next year.
That we will. And I think it's getting even better. I mean, it was always good. Don't get me wrong. It still will boil down to the doctors. So always, and again, this is what we do. Make sure that those doctors are in the network. Never assume. Doctors are retiring. Sometimes you have a nurse practitioner. You want to just make sure that you know the doctor that she's reporting under so that we can verify that the doctor truly does participate. The other thing is the dental networks. We've got Delta Dental of Michigan, and we've got other networks that dentists are familiar with and that they take plans from. So if you've got a dentist, make sure that the plan will work that you're in. That's a concern people have had. Gee, I didn't really want to move dentists, but I had to because my plan wouldn't pay for it. So those are the things, the nitty gritty things. This year, we're also going to see some beefed up dental values. I think that there's definitely recognition that dental is a very important benefit for people, taking good care of their teeth, especially as they get older, because there are other problems as a result of that. So some of the plans I know are adding more coverage, and it's right embedded in with the premium. You're not even having to pay any more. It's going from X number of thousands to X number of thousands. And I'm seeing it as an upgrade, as a positive thing. We also have different meal delivery systems. Different organizations are coming in after you've been in the hospital and saying, look, we want to provide you some frozen food, some frozen meals for the next 2 weeks to make it easy for you. Maybe you don't have a spouse or someone at home that can help you. So they're helping in that regard. Transportation. A person is no longer driving. Now they need an appointment at the doctor and they need somebody to help them get there. You're seeing more and more of that type of thing. The other thing is over the counter. There have been plans where they've said, if you don't use the amount of money we give you, we're going to take it away. In other words, use it or lose it. There are a few plans this year that are going to allow you to roll it over. You probably have to use it by the end of the year, but let's say you couldn't use all $50 the first quarter. Instead of losing the $50, you're going to have an opportunity to take it with you into the next quarter. So little enhancements like that, beefing up some of the benefits. A lot of the plans have a zero premium, I should say a zero copay to see the primary care doctor. More and more plans, I'm seeing that. So definitely worthwhile to take a good look at what I view are very positive changes. And I didn't see any takeaways. So no.
It's always good to get more, and that's not the typical thing from government programs, although we have seen a COLA, cost of living adjustment, on Social Security for the last several years, and historically high ones last year in particular, and expected again for this year. Although, Nancy, that typically also goes hand in hand with the base premiums for certain parts of Medicare too. So we've got to look at costs potentially increasing, as costs have generally across the board.
That's correct. So what will be kind of interesting, I think, this year is I have read a few articles, nothing has been confirmed, that we may not see an increase this year. So in the past, typically, if there's been a cost of living increase, the government can increase the Part B premium. They kind of go hand in hand. There's not a formula per se, but there was a pretty significant increase last year, 2021, $148.50 a month to $170.10 a month. And that's the base. I believe that what I'm understanding is that the forecast for the $170.10 was a bit too high, that some of that was a function of the new Alzheimer drug that's being worked on. So I continue to hope that maybe we're going to actually see it stay the same. I don't know if it'll go down or not, but it will be interesting to see how that part of it plays out. But like you say, there is a base premium. And if you are a higher income beneficiary, again, all the more reason to have a conversation with us so that you can plan accordingly. These are even things that on the wealth side, Nolan and Ron help people with. If they're in a threshold where they're going to be paying a lot more, and there's 4 or 5 different tiers with different values, and it can get pretty expensive. It can be $500, $600 a month that a person might be paying. These are the things that Ron and Nolan can help them plan for, because the look back for the amount assigned is 2 years. So they always look back 2 years at your income. So if you can influence your income going forward with the help of a financial advisor, it might be worth it, because otherwise it's going to be a big surprise being a higher income beneficiary when you join the ranks of Medicare.
Just another example of how things go hand in hand and why it's such a value that there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, you've got the healthcare and the wealth care all under one roof. Financial advising, retirement planning, Ron Corser, CFP. And of course, we are talking today with Nancy Corser, who handles the health care planning side of things. If you've got questions, pick up the phone, give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Now, Nancy, this time of year, with all of these options, with just the small window, people are bombarded with information. We get it left and right, and I think it's a little bit of human nature that if we get overwhelmed with information, we tend to do nothing. But that's probably not the most advisable or optimal route to make informed and educated decisions.
Definitely isn't. So like I said earlier, the resources I think that are really helpful for people are going to be the annual notice of change. If they have an agent that they've worked with in the past, get an appointment now, get on their calendar. They can talk to them on the phone, go see them in person, so on and so forth, however that person wants to meet with them. Review the Medicare and You book. It's coming out very soon. You should probably have it the latter part of September or early September. And honestly, I think the rest of it, you really got to take with a grain of salt, because if you call those 1-800 numbers, they are call centers. And unless they really do an in-depth job, and I'm not saying that some of them don't, I think some of them do a very fine job, but it is something that you definitely have a checklist with. And you need to be able to review those doctors. You need to know that your medications are covered. You need to understand what the copays are, the maximum out of pocket. And those folks are not in Western Michigan. You're calling who knows where. So again, it goes back to the personal contact. And obviously I'm putting a plug in for us and any other Medicare agent where you can meet with them and talk with them. They know what's going on in our community. So it's a little bit buyer beware. Maybe you want to, get some information, but again, back to the whole bombardment factor. Look at your annual notice of change. Pull out even your old summary of benefits that many of you have from the year before. See what you had and what you're going to have. Call your agent. And then decide what it is that you really want to do.
Again, you can call Nancy Corser. She is the resource here on the program, but also available to you. Nancy and her team there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners can be reached at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, and never any cost to you for those conversations, or even in enlisting Nancy and her team's assistance in the education and the enrollment in the best options for you. So give a call, 616-301-2581. Nancy, I know we've probably covered a few of these various situations throughout the course of the program, but who should request a review? Like, who really needs to have that conversation and talk with a licensed agent somewhere about their plan right now?
The people that should give us a call are definitely those people that have had some level of dissatisfaction with their plan. And it may be that they didn't understand how their plan worked. So that's a great opportunity for a review.
Really, for any reason, and any discontentment, dissatisfaction. I'm not happy with my current plan for XYZ reason, whatever that is. Time to revisit that plan.
Time to revisit that plan. And also what we do is any time of the year, we are available to review that person's plan. So although this is that really heightened period of time when you can make a change, we periodically throughout the year will have webinars and seminars, which will review the plan's benefits so that people can take advantage of it. And sometimes they'll say, oh, I didn't realize I even had that benefit. Tell me more. So we try to make sure that we're communicating throughout the year. But again, in terms of this time of the year, people who may have had a change in their health might want to talk about a different plan, because there are plans, as mentioned previously, with premiums that you might say, you know what, I am much more comfortable with paying a premium because I need this service, or I need that service, or this copay is less than that one. I have some folks that spend a lot of time with specialists. So the copay that they pay for a specialist is very important to them. And even if it's a $10 or a $15 savings, if you're seeing these specialists 4 or 5 times a month, that really adds up. Okay. So that could be a reason. Medication changes could be another reason. There are some brand name medications that will put somebody in what's called the donut hole or the coverage gap. And knowing how the coverage gap will work, and that potentially there are other possibilities in terms of either other meds or other services that might be helpful, will help that person manage what would otherwise have been an unexpected and a huge surprise when it comes to, wow, I didn't know I was going to go into the donut hole with that drug. So having a different medication that maybe they're paying quite a bit for today, that definitely warrants taking another good look.
Yeah, we don't like surprises.
No, me neither.
Again, to avoid those, especially medical surprises can be significantly costly. So let's make sure that we're trying to avoid as many of them as possible. Give Nancy Corser a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. You mentioned prescription drugs. I know that Part D prescription drug plans, those can be reviewed as well. Again, probably a lot of the same reasons, but specifically you mentioned medications, if your medications have changed, or if you want to just make sure that the plan covers your medication. Lots of changes can be made during this 7-week period to go into effect next year. And those changes, Nancy, really are what you're going to weigh and help somebody evaluate to make sure that we've got the best plan moving into next year.
Absolutely. So we put together an agenda. We ask a lot of questions. If a person takes medications, we will ask them to send us a list. We do have a website that allows for them to send the list as well. So we want to be fully prepared. And again, we want to ask them what's really important to them about their plan. Do they want a premium that is low and they're okay paying as they go? Or are they more comfortable paying more in a premium because they would have less out of pocket? And I'll also put this out there, and that is this. People are moving more to the Medicare Advantage plan. We've already said that. Last year, I had almost 40 of my clients move from the Medigap and Part D, the two separate plans, to the Medicare Advantage plan. So earlier this year, actually, within the last month, I sent everybody a letter and I said, I'm really encouraging you to take a hard look at this, because some people have said, oh, I don't get dental and I don't get vision and I don't get some of these other ancillary services, and I'm really pretty healthy. What do you think? So this is the time of the year to evaluate that as well. So I would anticipate, again, a move of people that may have started with a Medigap. They weren't exactly sure what they were doing when they turned 65. So they took what I kind of call the Cadillac plan, because there's virtually no out of pocket. But now they've been in the plan a little bit with Medicare, seen how it works. And they're like, I think I'm good with that. I understand how it's going to work. And my worst possible outcome is that I have an awful year and I hit the maximum out of pocket, which is very, very rare.
Nancy, finally, I think to wrap things up, maybe just time for this last topic, but I know that there are new advertising and marketing rules going into effect October 1st, and somewhat to do with a lot of the paid celebrity spokesperson advertising that we are seeing out there. Can you briefly tell us what's going on? What are these new requirements? And then kind of a word to the wise, beware of what some have already seen on television from those that may not necessarily be in the business day to day and know exactly what they're even advertising for.
Exactly. So effective October 1st of this year, every health insurance agent that helps people with Medicare will be responsible for recording the telephone call, the telephone appointment, any type of Zoom call or appointment, and we must be able to replay it in the event the insurance company or the government, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, would request that we play it back and tell them exactly what took place.
A review of your doings.
A review of our doings. So effective on October 1st, we're going to be letting everybody know when we get on the call that it will be recorded. And by the same token, we must let everyone know that as an agent, I do not represent every plan that is available for the upcoming season. And the reason for that is not every insurance company has agents that support the plan. So I've always made it my purpose to have all the companies, but there are some that do not have an agent. But I would also say that as a side note, that I will always evaluate and recommend the best plan, even if I don't get paid for it. I will help the person get enrolled in it. But back to the other, which is the following. The government, Centers for Medicare, Medicaid, have had huge amounts of complaints from recipients of those phone calls that have called to say, I called the 1-800 number, I switched plans, I went to go see my doctor, and he said, well, I don't take that plan. And here they were like, are you serious? Right. I've had a number of those calls. So we were able to get them back into their original plans, but the call centers aren't always doing their due diligence. So the government has said, we are going to impose upon everyone. And the call centers have always had the recordings. The agents have not. Mm-hmm. They have said, we're going to go back out to the whole agent community because you're all interacting with people, and we're going to require that you record it and have the ability to play it back. So,
but as fine a person as Hollywood Joe may be, or as dynamite as getting money back in your check might sound on a commercial, you're not speaking with those people. And even if you were, they are not in this business. And that's why these secondary conversations that happen when you call the 800 number, and that happen whenever you speak with somebody dealing with your healthcare coverage, are now having these additional requirements. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's just part of it for your protection from here on out. But you are dealing with an independent agent who is in the field each and every day, more than 17 years experience when you call to Cornerstone Retirement Partners and speak with Nancy Corser. So someone that is helping to inform and educate and help you arrive at the best choices and decisions for your healthcare coverage and expense protection. So pick up the phone, give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. You will not speak with an unknown nameless person in wherever. You will deal with a local resource right here in the Grand Rapids area, someone who can sit on your side of the table, help you review and evaluate all of your coverage options. 616-301-2581. That is 616-301-2581. Nancy, always a pleasure every time we get to visit with you, get to share the information that you have built in over 17 years in dealing with this area in planning. So important for each and every one of us to get the best coverage that we can, to make the right choices there, and just so much information out there, helping people sort through that every day. Thank you for being that resource for us here on the program and for those in and around Grand Rapids and all surrounding communities.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Tune into Cornerstone Retirement Partners' full radio program, Your Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock at News Radio WOOD, or visit cornerstone-rp.com for many valuable resources, including those mentioned on this show and other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott and Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements, and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services.
Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the products featured